Texas A&M has a bunch of breakout candidates this season, but the number one name on this list for me is Ashton Bethel Roman.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On the show today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk a little bit about the basketball team adding Ryland Griffen, massive addition. I'll tell you why in segment 3. Baseball team gets the series victory over LSU. Monumental stuff that's going to help the Aggies continue to have a great shot to lock up a spot in the postseason. But we're going to get things started talking about 3 players that I anticipate having a breakout season for the Aggies. And like I said, the number one player on that list for me is Ashton Bethel Roman. ABR, as I like to call him, is a player that came in last year at Texas A&M and, of course, played behind some of the guys, Cyrus Allen and Noah Thomas and a little bit Terry Bussey and some of these other wide receivers. But this year, especially after Micah Hudson goes back to Texas Tech, I think ABR, Ashton Bethel Roman, is going to get a lot of snaps for this Texas A&M offense. Talk to Brian Smith of the Portal podcast, which is one of the shows we had here at Locked On Aggies last week. If you missed that one, go check it out. It was a fun conversation. But we talked about how Texas A&M has a lot of good wide receivers, a lot of options at the position. In a lot of great players. Casey Concepcion is a player who, as y'all know, I think is going to be an absolute star. Mario Craver is going to be a really good player at the wide receiver position. They did a heck of a job adding players via the portal. They've recruited well. But you got a lot of slot guys. A lot of guys that can play the slot. And a lot of guys that, I mean, to me, you know, a slot receiver is your small guy, generally shorter, that is shifty and can run those slants in the yards after catch type of guys. When your outside guys generally are a little bit taller and are better at winning 50-50 balls, the go balls and all that stuff. So Ashton Bethel Roman is a guy to me at 6'1". He is shifty. He's a receiver that I think could play any position, wide receiver wise on the field. But I think he's a guy at 6'1" that you could stick out on. You could stick out there. I really do feel that way. Looking at that, that's why I think he's going to break out. I mean, you've got some. I think Jonah Wilson at 6'3" is a player that it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening with him. I think that he's a guy that, with his height, could maybe go out there and help you out a little bit when it comes to being an outside receiver. Of course, the Houston transfer. And then you've got Miles coming in, the freshman. When he gets here, he's a bigger receiver as well. But there's an open battle for some of these outside receiver spots. And I think Ashton Bethel Roman has a real chance to win one of those jobs. He is a player, had a great catch in the spring game from on a great throw from Marcel Reed to get that team on the board. And he's a player that has that upside at 6'1" to play outside, but he's a receiver that can beat you in every single way. He's not one-dimensional. He's got the size and speed and athleticism to play outside or inside, honestly, but he's got the shiftiness. He can win the 50-50 balls, as he did in that catch I talked about in the spring game. So he is a guy that I think is going to have a breakout season. It's not going to be easy for him to do that, as this is a deep Texas A&M wide receiver room with Terry Bussey and with Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver and a lot of great names in this room. But Ashton Bethel Roman is a guy that I'd say is being slept on a little bit, and he has an opportunity to break out and be a star for this football team. The next name on my list is Will the Blanket Lee. Now, to me, this is a different type of breakout. Last year, he, of course, played for the Aggies and was pretty darn good all year long. They call him the blanket for a reason. But I'm telling you what, I think this season, the style of breakout that I'm predicting is he's going to be one of the best corners in all of college football. I think he has that sort of upside. He, last year, put together really solid numbers and put up a season that I don't know if I was fully expecting it. He impressed me all year long. He finishes the year with 42 tackles, 2 interceptions. He forced a fumble. A season for Will Lee that was just top to bottom impressive, and I think he's going to one-up it this season. At a position in the secondary for Texas A&M that, yes, we have our fair share of concerns. We're kind of looking at this Texas A&M secondary and saying to ourselves, I don't know. How do we feel about it? You obviously brought a couple great players in via the portal in the last window, and you know that there is a chance that it's going to exceed expectations, but there's still concerns there. And I think when I get those concerns, I kind of just say to myself, you have Will the Blanket Lee. Everything's going to be fine. And I think that they've added the pieces around him that are going to help him be really good, but he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy, I think, that's on wide receiver 1 every single game, and he's going to be able to handle it out there. I think he's talented enough to do that. So, yeah, I definitely still have my concerns with the secondary. There's no debate to that. I do. I'm worried about it. But at the end of the day, I think Will Lee is going to be a player that should make us all rest a little easier at night when we think about the Texas A&M secondary. And the last player that I think is due for a breakout season for the Aggies is the Iowa State transfer, Tyler Oyunum. Last year for the Cyclones, he has 33 total tackles. He had a fumble recovery, didn't have any sacks. On his career, he has 3 total sacks and 1 interception. But the thing about Tyler Oyunum is the PFF grades back it. He is a dominant run stopper. And I think that is going to be the case for him this season. He is listed at 6'4", 295 pounds. A Texas native that's coming back home after playing for the Iowa State Cyclones, as I said. A player that is going to help it be easier for this team to not be a sieve stopping the run. And that's what he's known for. And I see a lot of folks, I've talked about Tyler Oyunum before, and they've said, well, Iowa State's run defense wasn't good last year. And that is true, but it is not the fault of Tyler Oyunum. He's going to be a guy. Tyler Oyunum is going to be a guy that, no, he's not going to get after the quarterback a lot. He's not, but he's going to make it difficult for opposing running backs to create space and get upfield when they're running between the tackles. That's the reality. And you've got your pass rushers. That's the thing. I mean, it'd be great if Tyler Oyunum could get 2 or 3 sacks from just, pressure up the middle. Like, that'd be ideal. But that's not what we need him to do. We have our pass rushers. We have our guys coming off the edge that are going to create havoc in the backfield for opposing quarterbacks. What we need is Tyler Oyunum to stop the run. And I've talked about it. I've been open about it. Defensive tackle is a position that I have my fair share of concerns about. It's more depth concerns than it is concerns of your actual players. I think we've got a solid squad of guys that are going to play the defensive tackle position. I just am worried if we have an injury or two, that's when it kind of becomes, okay, we are really not in a good spot here. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think that Tyler Oyunum is going to come in. He's going to stop the run. He's going to help this football team be really, really, really efficient at not letting opposing running backs run all over this football team. So that's a good addition. I think he was a great pickup by this coaching staff. He's going to have a big season. And he's the type of player, I don't think that the numbers are going to be all that attractive. You know what I mean? You're going to look at him and you're going to go, okay, so he had 18 tackles on the season, but it's the space he takes up and what he does clogging that up and not making it easy for opposing teams to run up the middle. That's what Tyler Elam does that makes him special. So I anticipate him having a really, really good season for this football team. We're going to talk about the series victory over LSU for the Aggies baseball team. Big one, back in a good spot. We'll talk about it coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to talk about our friends over at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts, from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. The baseball team hosted the LSU Tigers this weekend and find a way to get the series victory, a much-needed series victory against who was the number 2 team in all of college baseball. Get things started with the first game of the series, and in this one, the Aggies get the 3-1 victory. We finally see a great start from Ryan Prager. It was pretty good last week, but this week he was lights out. 7 innings, 5 total hits, 1 run, 1 earned, 5 strikeouts, a solid outing from Ryan Prager. We've been begging for it, absolutely begging for it, and we finally got it. LSU also got a pretty darn good start from their guy, Cade Anderson. The Aggies only had 6 hits in this baseball game. Now, LSU only had 8. It was obviously a 3-1 game for a reason. It was not it wasn't a lot of offense type of game. But they got the hits when it mattered the most. I mean, you get a Hayden shot hit gets you a run, which was huge. Then you get a couple hits from Royo, who's been awesome. You get a hit from Hensler in this game. I mean, once again, there weren't many hits to go around. But this baseball team found a way to win a game when the bats weren't red hot. And at the end of the day, that is what wins baseball series. That's what wins them, is winning a game when you're not hitting the ball well, or on the flip side, winning a game where you need a lot of offense and your pitchers aren't having a good game. The Aggies did not have the best day at the plate, but between some defense and some hitting, they found a way to get the victory. And then Caden Wilson, I think, did a heck of a job coming in those 1.1 innings to really close this thing out for the Aggies. Then in game 2, which, of course, this was the game where the Aggies lose this one 1-2. And in this game, another great day for the pitching staff of Texas A&M. Lampkin gives up 2 runs, and then McCoy comes in, goes 3.2 innings, 2 hits, no runs. Really gave Texas A&M a chance in this game. You go against a pitcher in that game for LSU, and he was just incredible. 9 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 earned, and it was a homer in the 6th from Royo. I mean, that was the only literally the only hits in this game. You get one from Sorrell, one from Harrison, and one from Ray. I mean, just wasn't another bad day or another bad game at the plate for the Aggies in this one. Pitching was pretty darn good. I mean, you give up 2 runs, you gave your team a chance. The Aggies just couldn't get the big hit. And then game 3, and I talked about it last week. If the Aggies could just find a way to win one game this series, they're still alive. But I called it a must-win series. It really felt like one you just had to win if you wanted to feel good about your chances of making the playoff, the postseason. And the Aggies get it done. They win this game 6-4. Another game, not, the bats were going a little bit better, but still wasn't great. You get 1 hit from Jace, 2 hits from Hensler, 1 hit from Sorrell. We'll talk about the importance of that hit in a minute. 1 hit from Bear Harrison, 1 hit from Caden Kent, 2 hits from Gavin Cash, 1 hit from Terrence Keel. On the mound, Miles Patton goes 6 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned, 6 strikeouts, a game where it felt like it was a few pitches that hurt him in this game. In that 4th inning, they get 2 runs, and then that homer by Hernandez. I thought that it was a okay outing from Patton. He just missed a few spots, and it led to some runs. Then Weston Moss comes in. It was great that you were able to save him until this game. Obviously, I know he pitched in the first game, but you were able to hold him back to where he had more innings in him. And he does Weston Moss things, 3 innings, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts, no runs. He just, of course, the Aggies were down, but he just kept saying, I'm going to give us a shot here. So what would the score? We'd have been down a run because LSU was 2-2, 4-2. Yeah, it was 4-2. And then in the 8th, that is when the explosion happened and the Aggies put up 4 runs, highlighted by the 3-run homer by Caden Sorrell that gave the Aggies the 6-4 lead. And then Weston Moss goes out there and shuts the door on this series victory. This is a huge one, ladies and gentlemen. So the Aggies now currently sit with a 10-4 conference record. I've talked about the magic number being, I think, 13 wins and you are in. I feel pretty confident about that. 13 wins, 14 you're for sure in. I think 13 wins, I feel pretty good about it. But so this week is going to be a massive one. You play the Missouri Tigers, and I mean, they are 0-24 in conference play. And I want to reiterate this, that is insane. This is baseball. That should never happen. I mean, realistically, they should have 3 or 4 wins. It's baseball. A blind squirrel finds a nut, as they say. I don't know how it's possible to be 0-24 in conference play. So, I mean, I'll tell you this. It's not crazy to say you should sweep this series. If you sweep this series, you put yourself in a position where you're pretty much playing with house money against Georgia in that series in Athens. If you win the series, you'd be 15-15 in conference play. If you win 1 game, you'd be 14-16. And if you sweep this series, I think if you sweep the series and you go into that Georgia series with 13 conference wins, I think you're in a pretty good spot that I think you're in. And I think 13 wins. I think we're in with 13 wins. I just do. And I've talked about it. If we can just get into the postseason, it would be huge. But I think it's definitely a must-win series. But in all honesty, I'm fair to call it a must-sweep. I think if you sweep, I think we're gonna right now. If you ask me my percentage chance that Texas A&M makes the postseason, I'd say probably 95%. But I think if you sweep this weekend, it goes up to about 98%. You need to win for sure. Sweep would be awesome this series, but huge series dub over LSU. Big hit from Caden Sorrell. Great weekend for this baseball team. We're going to talk about, in addition to the basketball team, a massive one, a player who I think is going to put up insanely impressive numbers for this basketball team and for Bucky McMillan. We'll talk about that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. So the Aggies added Ryland Griffen to the recruiting class, and I think this is an absolutely massive pickup for this team. And at the same time, Duke Miles, the Oklahoma transfer, pulled his name or is going to get rid of his NLI, and so he's not going to be part of the team. Don't love that. But Ryland Griffen, last season at Kansas, averaged 6.3 points per game, 2.1 rebounds, 1.4 assists, while shooting 33.6% from deep. But the year before at Alabama, on that Final Four team, he was a starter, averaging 11.2 points per game, 3.4 rebounds, 1.9 assists, to go with 45.4% from the field and 39.2% from three. When you watched Ryland Griffen play that season for Alabama, it was so, every time he put up a three-pointer, it's going in, right? You feel like it's going in. This kid's a sharpshooter. He was not a good fit at Kansas. He just wasn't. I thought he was going to be a good fit, but the way they ran that offense with Hunter Dickinson, it just didn't work out well with his style of play. This kid can hoop. And in Bucky McMillan's offensive system, the Bucky ball, where they want to shoot a lot of three-pointers and there will be a lot of offense, Ryland Griffen is going to be a star. He's a 6'6", 190-pound guard, a Dallas kid, so he's a Texas native. Good to have him back in the home state. But he can shoot the ball over anybody. At 6'6", he's long, he's tall. He can shoot the ball over opponents, which is a really cool part of his game. I think that this kid's going to come in and I think he's going to be the best player on this basketball team. I think that he's going, and I know that might be bold, and that's fine if you think that is bold. I think that he's going to be better than Mackenzie Mbako. I think that he is going to be an absolute star. I think you're going to see 14, 15 points a game out of this kid in this offensive system. People are going to forget who Ryland Griffen is. People are going to say, well, yeah, but he was struggled last year at Kansas. He did. He sure did. But he's going to be a star in the system at Texas A&M. This was a great addition. I think some people will look at Ryland Griffen as, kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't want to say damaged goods because he didn't have a great season last year, but that might be how some look at him. But I don't care. He's a special basketball player that's going to fit in well to the system and put up a lot of points. So Bucky McMillan is absolutely cooking in the transfer portal. I think this team's going to be good. This addition right here of Ryland Griffen gives me confidence in just how good the Aggies are going to be this season. I think they're a tournament team now. That's how serious I am about this addition. I think they were a locked-in tournament team. I feel good about it. It's bold. I know this kid's going to be a stud. He's going to be really, really good. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. Really, really appreciate it. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review over on podcast platforms. All of that helps the show out a lot. Hope everyone has a great rest of their Monday, and we'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Aggies.